Yes, sure, Bindoji. Namaste, everyone. Welcome to Advaita Vedanta Satsang House. Ongoing sessions are on Bhagavad Gita from an Advaita perspective offered by Bindoji. We are on chapter 4. The replays of the previous rooms are all available in Clubhouse, or you can go to the links shared in the chat. The one is on YouTube called Advaita Retold, and there are two more on Apple and Spotify, Apple Podcast and Spotify. There's also a book authored by Artemisia, which is coming from the insights on Advaita shared by Bindoji. It's available on Amazon. The link is shared too. I'll be closing the chat and hand raising when Bindoji is conducting the class, after which the channels will be open for further discussions. We'll have about half an hour after that. As always, thank you, Bindoji. Over to you.
Thank you, Prakash. Namaste and Hari Om to all of you. Let me do my invocation. Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartribhyo Vamsharishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Garunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lova Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashikritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavad Pyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Gita Dhyana Shlokam Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Stunvandi Divyaistavai Vedai Sangapadakramो Vanishadai Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yashyantam Navidusura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. We saw that Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glanir Bhavati Bharata Abhyutthanam Adharmasya Tadatmanam Srijamyaham. Whenever the dharma that sustains both the worldly prosperity and the spiritual liberation declines and adharma is on the rise, the Lord manifests himself through his own Maya in order to restore the order of dharma. Having stated that, we saw the avatara requirement both at the macrocosmic level and the microcosmic level. Macrocosmic level, he appears as the power of the nature or in the forms of people who can make changes in the world. And in the microcosmic, at the individual level, he appears in each one of us by restoring the jnana, which is the only antidote for kama, krodha, etc. And thereby, decline of kama, krodha takes place and the ascent of jnana takes place, leading to moksha or liberation. Now, why does the Lord or Brahman has to do this? They can let things happen the way it is happening, whatever way it is. No, says Krishna. There is a purpose behind it. There are three listed here. Paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya cha dushkritam, dharma samsthapanarthaya, sambhavami yuge yuge. A very famous, often quoted verse from the Bhagavad Gita. There are three statements which is showing the purpose. First one is Paritranaya Sadhunam. Paritranaya means for the protection or for the deliverance. Sadhunam means of the virtuous people or the righteous people or the people of good nature. Paritranaya Sadhunam is one. Vinashaya cha dushkrita. Vinashaya for the purpose of destruction or annihilation. Dushkritam. Dushtam karoti yaha saha dushkrita. The evildoers or those who do evil deeds, who brings destruction and disharmony in the society. So that is the second purpose. Then the third one is Dharma Samsthapanarthaya. This may appear to be the third one, but it is an effect of the first one and two. For the purpose of firmly establishing Dharma. Dharma Samsthapanarthaya. Dharmasya Samsthapanam, Dharma Samsthapanam. Idam Dharma Samsthapanartham. Samta Samsthapanarthaya means for the purpose. And what does Krishna say? Aham Sambhavami. I manifest, I arise, or I come into expression or into being. Yuge Yuge means in every age, every time, or every moment. Whenever there is a need, I am present there. So the total verse, if you were to look at it, for the complete deliverance of the sadhus, for the complete destruction of the evildoers, and for the purpose of firmly re-establishing the dharma, I arise age after age. The 4.8 or the verse which is now read, as per Shankaracharya, is a double closure. It closes the earlier mentioned Avatara Prakarana, means the nature of descent of the Lord into the empirical level. Narratively, simultaneously opens the theological teaching for the three purposes. Paritranaya, Vinashaya, Dharma Samsthapanarthaya. That means for the uplift or protection of the sadhus, the destruction of the evildoers, and re-establishment of Dharma. They are not merely cosmic events, but descriptions of what jnana does within the jiva in the microcosmic level. So when the Avatara teaching is received, these three are bound to happen in the individual. At the macrocosmic plane, Parameshwara or the Lord acting in the world, but its deepest Advaitic resonance is in microcosmic. The liberation of each sadhaka who is a mumukshu through the triple action of jnana upon avidya. Because avidya is the root cause for kama and krodha. And the only antidote for avidya is jnana. And avidya is the reason why dharma is in the decline and adharma is on the rise. Because karya vivasta. We do not know what is right, what is wrong. Now let us analyze each of these three causes which is being mentioned by this verse. Paritrana is a complete protection, thorough rescue or total deliverance. The pari is a prefix or a suffix in the prefix, in the form of prefix for Trana. Trana means rescue, deliverance, or protection. But the prefix Pari is for bringing in the totality of it, completeness of it, or thoroughness of it. Therefore, the word Paritrana is stronger than the simple Rakshana or a protection or a Sarana, refuge. The Pari prefix asserts all-sided, means comprehensive rescue. Not merely shielding from the external threat, but the complete liberation, Trana, from the entire conditions of vulnerabilities. The deepest Paritrana is the liberation from the samsara itself, from the repeated birth and death, etc., feeling that we are the body, we are going through the birth and death, etc. The word sadhu is carefully layered in this. At the empirical Vyavahariga level, sadhus are those who follow dharma uprightly and are oppressed by forces of adharma that have risen. The avatara delivers them from the external oppression. But at the deeper level and the paramarthika level or the absolute level, sadhus are the qualified jijnasu or mumukshus, people who wanting to know the emancipation or moksha. Those in whom viveka and vairagya have ripened to such an extent and who are still bound by the residual avidya that constitute the samsara in them. They have the viveka, they have the vairagya, but there is some iota of avidya which is remaining, because of which they are not able to make the shift to that inner self, releasing themselves from the clutches of the body, mind, intellect identification, which is the moksha. So for them, paritrana or the complete deliverance from samsara, which is the moksha itself. The avatara's teaching, that is the Gita Shastra here, is the instrument of this deliverance. This teaching itself is Parameshwara's or Lord's Atmanam Srijami, means I appear, I project myself, or I present myself directly, specifically toward the liberation of these mumukshus who have got viveka and vairagya. Crucially, Shankaracharya reads the Paritrana through the lenses of 4.36, which is going to come, where it is a verse, Abhichedasi papebhya sarvebhya papakrittamaha sarvam jnana plavenaiva vrijinam santarishyasi. Meaning, even if you are the worst of all sinners, listen to it carefully. Krishna is saying, even if you are the worst of all sinners, you shall cross all evil by the boat of jnana alone. Jnana plavenaiva prajinam santarishyasi. That crossing, santaranana, is the paritrana of this verse. And its instrument is jnana. Not merely miraculous divine intervention or a boon from the Lord, etc. The second one is vinashaya cha dushkrita. The contrast with paritrana is vinasha, is stark and deliberate. Paritrana means complete rescue protection, whereas Vinasha is complete destruction. The V prefix in front of Nasha, destruction, is again to bring the same effect of Pari in the case of Trana. Both carry the intensifying prefixes Pari and V. Therefore, the completeness is equal and opposite. It is not partial redemption or partial punishment, but total liberation of the sadhus and the total dissolution of the dushkrit. Dushkrit means evildoers. Dushtam karoti. Dushkritam means one who has done evil or for the destruction of evildoers. The evildoers themselves, not merely their evil deeds. The very object of destruction is the doers themselves, not their action. That is why it is total, because they will not be left out to repeat their mistake or their evil doing again. Shankaracharya treats the Vinashaya Dushkritam is in a philosophical nuanced way, resisting both vindictive and simplistic reading. At the empirical Vyavaharika level, Dushkrits are those who actively suppress Dharma and oppress those who are following Dharma, the sadhus. And not only that, they propagate adharma. Examples: tyrants, oppressors, the forces of tamasic disorder. And their vinasha or total destruction is absolutely necessary for the dharma's restoration. Like previous, Shankaracharya immediately asks, is the Parameshwara, who is sama, equal towards all, nirvairi, without any enemy, sarva bhuta hitairagata, devoted to welfare of all beings. This is the definitions for Lord or Ishvara. If he is samam sarva bhuteshu, so that is the sama which he is referring to. Nirvairi means without enmity to anybody. Sarva bhuta hitairata, devoted to the welfare of all beings. If that is the nature, actually motivated by the punitive destruction, is he the one? His answer is decisive no. Shankaracharya says no, he is not the one. The vinasha of the evildoers, duskrit, is not motivated by enmity, but is the natural consequence of dharma's restoration. How? Just as darkness is not destroyed by light out of hostility for darkness, but simply cannot coexist. So that is the example we have to remember. If anybody is asking, if God is all merciful and treats every creation of His at the same level, why is that some people are suffering and some people are enjoying? It is a consequence of Dharma's restoration. We do not have the whole picture to evaluate what is right, what is wrong. We all have got the blinded vision, blinkered vision. We see only certain aspects of the people. What is their cause for birth? What is the prarabdha for them? How much of evil doing somebody has done, or how much of good dharma he has done? All those things matters. Furthermore, Shankaracharya reads the Dushkritam Vinasha on a microscopic plane as the destruction of Dushkritas. the evildoers within the individual. What are they? They are the papas or doshas. Kama, Krodha, Moha, Mada, Malsarya. The Shadvairis, the 6 enemies within ourselves. Andar Shatru, the inner enemy playing within our own inner personality, forcing us to do things which we do not want to do, but at the mercy of the Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, means the desire, the anger, the delusion, etc. These have been identified in the last chapter, 37 to 43. Kama eda, Krodha eva, jara rajo guna samudbhava. We have heard that. So the avrata jnana, which is covered knowledge by the knowledge, what is covering them? The Kama, Krodha, etc. And they are called the Dushkritas at the individual level, at the Sadhu Jiva level. This is the deepest vinasha, not the physical destruction of the wicked person, but the annihilation of avidya and its derivatives in the qualified recipient of the teaching. So when one receives this knowledge, his tendency to do evil doing reduces, and he starts thinking about the consequences and the effect he is bringing into the social disorder, etc. But it has to come from knowledge. Any amount of advice, people may not listen to. It has to come from within, because the Shatru or the Dushkritas, the evil doing forces are within ourselves. Jnanagni, the fire of knowledge from within, is precisely the cause, vinasha. Sarva karmani bhasmasat kuriti Arjuna. O Arjuna, it reduces, this knowledge reduces all karmas to ashes. All karmas are prompted by the Kama, Krodha, Mada, Moha, Malsarya, etc. When the causes are reduced by the knowledge of jnana, the forces cannot function, and therefore it reduces all karmas to ashes. And the third one is dharma samsthapanarthaya. This is a multi-layered compound requiring full breakup. Dharma plus sam plus sthapana plus artha plus aya. Dharma is the cosmic moral order or righteousness. In other words, there is a Sanskrit word ruta for it. Sam sthapana, sam plus sthapana. Sthapana means establishing or to stand completely, to stand or found. But with a prefix sam, it becomes firmly re-establishing or causing to stand completely or refounding, re-establishing. Therefore, dharma samstapana as a word is the complete re-establishment of dharma. And what is the word artha here means? Artha means purpose, aim or goal. So the goal of complete re-establishment of dharma, and when you add the word samstapanaya, paritranaya, vinashaya, so that the aya at the end shows for the purpose of. So dharma samsthapanarthaya therefore will be meaning one that it is a compound word of, as I said, for the purpose of the complete re-establishment of dharma. So first one is paritranaya sadhunam. That means for the deliverance of the sadhus who follow dharma. Vinashaya cha dushkrita, for the destruction or the elimination of evildoers or who act against dharma. Dharma samsthapanarthaya, the purpose of re-establishing dharma. Out of that, the third one is the most comprehensive one. It subsumes the first two, mainly by sadhu paritrana or dushkrita vinasha. These are two instrumental means by which dharma is re-established or dharma samsthapana is achieved. The removal of sadhu's oppression and the dissolution of dushkrita together constitute the conditions for dharma's re-establishment. Dharma samstapana is the philosophical theory summit of the avatara's purpose. It is the philosophical summit of the avatara's purpose. The dharma samstapana, not merely stapana, but samstapana signals that what is being re-established is not a new dharma. It is re-establishment, but the restoration of the Sanatana Dharma that was already established at the cosmic beginning as the Avyaya Yoga, where Krishna said that transmitted through Vivaswan, Manu, Ikshvaku, etc., through the Rajarshis, and is declared lost now. Therefore, the Avatara does not create Dharma again. It refines or re-establishes what was already found a primordial order. The re-establishment of Atma-Jnana at the microcosmic level as the acknowledgement of the supreme Dharma for human existence. The Dharma in the social order, at the ritual order, all these are empirical dharmas, vyavaharika dharmas, and their restoration matters. But the ultimate dharma that the avatara re-establishes is the knowledge that Atman is Nitya, Avyaya, Aja, etc. That is the Avyaya Yoga of the first verse that was lost and now being redisclosed to Arjuna. In the sense, the Gita itself is the Dharma Samstapana. The avatara's act of establishing, re-establishing, is accomplished through the Sabda Pramana or the restoration through the words uttered by Krishna in the Parambara through the broken time where it was lost is being reclaimed and presented again. Therefore, he says, Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. So, to arise completely and to come fully into manifestation of presenting this Dharma, it is not a past action or a future action. It is timeless, perpetual, recurrent manifestation at the every corner of the human life. Whenever kama, krodha, moha, valsarya, lobha, etc. overtake our wisdom or our knowledge or our jnana, the jnana need to be restored in us. And that restoration or the recurrent manifestation is what is the avatara. And then when he says Sambhavami Yuge Yuge, It is not that Satya Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, Dharma, Kali Yuga, etc., which is mentioned is once in a Yuga only that, the Avatara takes place. It is not the case. It is eternal, ever-present arising, and not a historical but meta-historical. The usage of Yuge Yuge, reduplicated word, is to indicate the age, era, cosmic period as the 4 yugas. Krita is Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. Each divided, the Kreta Yuga or the Satya Yuga is 4,800 divine years. The Treta Yuga is 3,600 divine years. The Dvapara Yuga is 2,400 divine years. And Kali Yuga is 1,200 divine years, Mahayuga. Therefore, forming one Mahayuga. Now, calculation of divine years is a very tricky thing. It is that each year runs into 500,000 of human life or human years. So when you say 12,000 divine years, 12,000 multiplied by 500,000 is the period of a yuga. So Yuge Yuge, when he mentioned, it is not that once in a blue moon or once in a yuga it takes place. But that is contradicted by the previous verse when he said, Yada Yada. That nullifies everything as the yuga, even though yuga is used here. It is to only mention that whenever the time is ripe, that's all. And whenever is the time ripe? Yada Yada. Whenever there is a decline in the dharma and adharma is on the rise. If it is every second, the divine intervention is every second. If it is a lifetime for a human being, it is a lifetime for a human being. Like that, any time, universally across all instances. In and every moment or every time when it is required, Yada Yada Dharmasya Glanir Bhavati. Without exception, across all cosmic time. This is not merely sometimes or periodically, but at every transition. Whenever there is a condition for dharma glani, decline of dharma takes place. That jnana, which is now not being present for controlling the kama, krodha, etc., need to be re-established in the society. At the individual level, at the social level, at the different levels, wherever it is required. So both the Yada Yada and Yuge Yuge is deliberate by Krishna to use it. And there, the reduplicated forms is an assertion of the universal recurrence, creating a tight grammatical thematic bond between the two verses. That is why I said both the verses go together, then only the meaning becomes completely. Yada Yada Tada Srijami, that whenever there is a condition ripe for me to project, the Lord says, then Sambhavami Yuge Yuge, I arise in every timeless present, completing the requirement. Therefore, Yada Yada and Yuge Yuge is a completion of correlation between the requirement and the avatara. Shankaracharya notes that the avatara is not a unique historical event. It is a cosmic necessity recurring at every yuga. In every yuga means whether it is Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga, as a cycle of Dharma Glani occurs, the Parameshwara manifests. This makes the avatara a structural feature of Ishvara's governance or Ishvara Nema, rather than an exceptional intervention. He doesn't intervene as an exception. As a general rule, whenever there is a decline in the dharma and the adharma is on the rise, rest be assured that divine intervention is bound to happen. At the deepest point is about the present tense in the Sambhavami. When it is combined with the Yuge Yuge, the present tense ensures that the Yuge Yuge is not merely in the past stages of like Treta Yuga, Satya Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, etc. But in this age, right now, always. When it is said, in this age, our mind will go for a longer duration. But when it is said right now, the time span reduces to this very moment. But when it is said always, we evaporate the idea of time itself. That means knowledge is present all the time. And that knowledge, when clouded by Kama and Krodha, which are the three examples which we saw earlierly, like, Dhumre Navrate Agni, that the smoke covering the fire. That shows that the jnana is present in all of us all the time. When we forget our true nature, or when we are ignorant about our own true nature, we are not forgetting, we become ignorant, avidya. We identify with the body, mind, intellect as I am so and so, with all sorts of identification to lineage or birth or location or a country or age or anything like that. When such a thing happens, the knowledge becomes obscured. That is dharmasya glani. And when the dharmasya glani takes place, or when the dharma becomes obscured, Kama Krodha will become stronger. That is what is called the adharmasya. The adharma takes a center stage. So that is the time when the divine intervention within our own thing. That is the time when we will be unknowingly moving to proximity of sources of knowledge. And the sources of knowledge are not the divine intervention. They are instrumental. The divine intervention takes within ourselves. So when it is said that within ourselves, means it is always. So there is no waiting for a time period or anything like that. That means the Parameshwara's manifestation, Atmanam Srijami, is not exhausted by any historical avatara. It is an ever-present reality. Parameshwara is always manifesting through Guru, Shastra, Viveka, Satsang. These are the perpetual Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. The historical avatara, Krishna at the Kurukshetra, is the peak manifestation within the continuum of perpetual self-disclosure of Chaitanya through all means of Dharma Rakshana. So the three purposes form the philosophical doctrine of the triad. Two particular, which is the sadhus parivrana and dushkrita vinasha, and one universal, that is the dharma samstapana, with the universal subsisting as the final cause of which the two particular purposes are instrumental conditions. Therefore, for the complete deliverance of sadhus, for the complete destruction of evildoers, and for the purpose of firmly re-establishing dharma, I arise age after age. That is the meaning of the verse. The Atmajnana's three functions, Shankaracharya's most penetrating reading applies the three purposes. Microcosmically, as describing the Atmajnana does within the jiva who receives the avatara teaching. Paritrana of sadhu means the liberation of the swatik tendencies within the jiva, like the viveka, vairagya, sama, dhamma, etc., which have been oppressed by kama and avidya. When jnana arises, these sadgunas, like viveka, vairagya, sama, dhamma, of the antakarana are completely delivered. Paritrana, from the tyrannies of rajas and tamas, which are coming in the form of kama and krodha, vidya, etc. Vinasha, dushkrita is the annihilation of avidya, kama, krodha, karma, lobha, etc. These are the dushkritas of the antakarana that have been performing the evil deeds, perpetually superimposing anatman upon the atman. That is, we are superimposing our body, mind, intellect upon ourselves. Jnanagni, the fire of knowledge, accomplishes this vinasha completely. Vinasha means nashta, destruction completely. Bhasmasat kurute reduces into ashes. That is the word. Bhasmasat means the word bhasma means ash. Bhasmasat kurite means reduces into ashes. So the knowledge, Atmajnana, or the Jnanagni, will burn down avidya, kama, karma, krodha, lobha, moha, etc. And when these two happens, instrumentals, the re-establishment of Atma Swarupa as the supreme reality of the jiva, the recognition of Aham Brahmasmi, that Pratyagatma is Nitya, Avyaya, Aja, etc., is the ultimate Dharma Samstapana within the microcosmic individual level. When Atman is known as the sovereign ground for all experience, that means every experience, the ground for this experience, the independent ground for all experience. It is neither affected by the experience of the subject or the object or the experience, but it is sovereign ground, means independent ground, where these experiences appears to be happening, is in the jnana or the knowledge. That is the highest dharma that is firmly established. That is samstapita. Not as a belief, but as an aparoksha anubhava or aparoksha anubhuti. Immediate and non-mediated experience at the individual level. Then the Yuge and Parambara words, which is used by Krishna, is to indicate the Guru and the Avatara, as Avatara. Shankaracharya's reading Sambhavami Yuge in the present tense has a radical implication. If Parameshwara perpetually manifests through Guru, Shastra, Satsanga across all ages, then every genuine Guru who transmits Atmajnana is an expression of Parameshwara's Yuge Sambhavami. The Guru Parambara, the lineage of Shankaracharya himself as his Param Guru Gaudapada, etc. And the Shishya Parambara extending to the present living, ongoing enactment of the word Sambhavami Yuge is an unbroken transmission of Brahma Vidya from Guru to Shishya and is a micro manifestation of Atmanam Sirjami. The self-recognizing itself through the vehicle of teaching relationship from the teacher to the student, to the teacher to the student, like that. Therefore, the Avatara Prakarana, which Krishna started, Srijamyaham, Sambhavami Yuge, etc., is a Prakarana for the Jnana Yoga. Shankaracharya notes that the Avatara Prakarana, which is starting from 5th verse to the 8th verse, serves as a strategic function within the Gita's larger architecture. By establishing that Parameshwara himself is the teacher of this yoga, Aham Proktavan, I am the one who spoke before creation to the first of the created. That is what he started with. Then he said, Maya te prokta, I am telling you this now to Arjuna, that he manifests specifically for Dharma Samstapana, which is the 8th verse. And that his very nature is Avyayaha, Ishvara, who is Ajaha. He has no birth. That is why he is present every moment, every minute, every moment of it. The text establishes the maximum possible authority. Therefore, the pramanya of the teaching is full. The Jnana Yoga Prakarana of 4.33 to 42, which is going to come, he uses 3 words with the word Jnana in it. One is Jnana Agni, one is Jnana Now, means boat, knowledge of boat, and Jnana Plava is again, what you call the raft. Plava means raft. So as fire, as a boat, as a raft, the Jnana is functioning, thus arrives at not one option among many, but the sovereign disclosure of birthless, imperishable Parameshwara. The Uttamam Rahasyam, which was mentioned in the 3rd verse, is now delivered in full cosmic authority. And the echoing of Srijami and Sambhavami, there is a semantic structure across 4.7 and 4.8. These 2 verbs, Srijami, Aham, Sambhavami, Yuge, both form a semantic structure which Shankaracharya appreciates very deeply. He says that Srijami emphasizes the agency and the sovereignty of Parameshwara in the act of manifestation. I release myself, or I present myself, or I project myself. That is Srijami. And Sambhavami, to come fully into being. is emphasizing the completeness and the fullness of the manifestation as experience from the empirical Vyavaharika side. I come completely into being. That is the time the macrocosmic level of Krishna, etc. is perceived by the world. But together they assert one thing, that the avatara is simultaneously as a sovereign projection from the Paramarthika standpoint of Parameshwara wielding Atma Maya, and a complete real manifestation from the Vyavaharika empirical standpoint of those who receive the avatara's teachings and protection. This dual description is Advaitic resolution of the avatara paradox. Real from the Vyavaharika, but sovereign projection, Vivarta, from the Paramarthika. Therefore, the completion of the Avatara Prakarana is over with this verse. The gateway to Jnana. That is the Avatara Prakarana. With 8th verse, Shankaracharya notes that the occasion of Gita's teaching has been fully established. The verse answers retrospectively the question implicit. Since the first verse, why is Krishna speaking this teaching at all, if at all we had asked that? The answer is because this is exactly what Parameshwara does. Sambhavami yuge yuge, for the triple purpose of Paritrana, Vinasha and Samstavana. Arjuna, the sadhu here, whose viveka has temporarily languished under the assault of shoka and moha, which is equal to the dharma glani for his own antakarana, is the immediate occasion for this particular Sambhavami, for this avatara to take place. So the entire Gita, the 700 verses of Brahma Vidya, of Gita, is the content of Dharma Samstavana. For whom? The sadhu Arjuna. To Arjuna to get out of the shoka and moha from dharma glani of his antakarana and stand up, take back his bow and arrow, and for re-establishing dharma, he has to endure with the war and eliminate those who are doing that adharma. So, that is why Krishna says later in this, Nimitta matram bhava savyasajan. Arjuna, even if you don't understand any of this thing, don't worry. At least be an instrument for me in delivering the Dharma Samstavana. We will see that when that verse comes. So, the Yuga is this very moment, and the Adhikari is Arjuna. The movement is from history to epistemology to ontology to cosmic law to teleology. A complete philosophical account of Avatara, which Shankaracharya regards as the Gita's own self-commentary on its reason for existing. The Gita is existing is because of the need for this. The next verse onwards, the focus shifts to the fruit of knowing the Avatara. Janma karma cha me divyam is how the word started, and progressively toward Jnana Yoga. That constitutes the chapter's philosophical heart. But every subsequent teaching, where it is mentioned as Jnana Agni, Jnana Nauga, Jnana Plava, Kevala Jnana Moksha, rests upon the ontological foundation established in these first 8 verses of the 4th chapter. And the speaker is none other than the birthless, imperishable Parameshwara. And what he speaks is the supreme Rahasyam, the Avyaya Yoga, whose content is nothing other than the self-luminous Pratyagatma that Arjuna, like every sadhu, is already there. And the need is only to recognize that. And Krishna's purpose was to make Arjuna recognize that. Na hanyade hanyamane sharire. When he said that, Arjuna did not understand. So Krishna had to start from the very scratch. Why are people getting deluded? Kama eva, krodha eva. Kama and krodha. And how will you remove the Kama and Krodha? You should understand how Kama and Krodha is functioning. Like the fire being engulfed in a smoke, not able to shine itself, is what happens when Kama and Krodha takes place in us. We forget our own true nature. We are driven by the desires, etc. in the world, and therefore thereby identifying with that instruments for great desire satisfaction. The body becomes our prime interest to satiate, and we find that it is never getting fully satisfied. Keeping youth, looking good, and all those things which we do in our life ultimately becomes futile because time takes over all those things. We become old, aged, wrinkled, grayed, and stupefying and needing either a walking stick or a wheelchair to perform our motion, etc. So all the effort which we have done, thinking that we are the body or maintaining it, it is not that it need not be maintained. It is an instrument which needs to be maintained. But that is not what we are. If you know we are and we maintain it, then we are nimitta matram. We are becoming an instrument for the purpose of the deliverance of, dharma samsthapanat. But if we are overwhelmed by Kama and Krodha, then every moment we do not know the Pratyagatma, which is our true nature. So the purpose of Avatara in us is to rekindle the jnana in us, to know that we are not the body, mind, intellect. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit. Neither are we born any time, nor are we going to die any point of time. So the entire second chapter, we should remember it at this time, where Krishna taught, Nani shochanti pandita. When he said that, the one who knows never languishes, never cries over things, because he knows that he is not the body, mind, intellect. There is only one sentence written by Shankaracharya in the form of commentary, which each word I expanded and explained to you. For the purpose of those who are following the Bhashya, I'll read the Bhashya and explain the sentence. Paritranaya means Parirakshanaya. Sadhunam means Sanmargasthana. For the protection and the safeguarding of the righteous, those who abide in the path of truth. Vinashaya cha dushkritam papagarinam. And for the destruction of evildoers, those who commit sinful actions. Incha dharma samsthapanarthaya, and also for the purpose of establishing dharmasya samyak sthapanam taddartham. Dharma samsthapanartham, he is establishing that. For the proper re-establishment of dharma. Sambhavami yuge yuge prati yugam. I manifest myself in every age, in each yuga. This verse explains the three purposes of divine manifestation. That is dharma samsthapanarthaya. Follow the dharma, seek the truth, pursue the spiritual life. The Lord protects them because they sustain the moral order in the world. Destruction of the wicked, Shankaracharya defines the dushkrita as papakarinaha. Those who perform harmful and unrighteous action. Their destruction serves only two purposes. Removal of injustice and restoration of order. However, Shankaracharya does not interpret this merely as a physical destruction. Often it means destruction of their power and influence. The most important purpose is dharma samsthapana, the re-establishment of dharma, which includes the restoration of ethical principles, spiritual knowledge, and guiding humanity back to the path of liberation. And it is happening whenever dharma declines significantly, the Lord manifests again. Thus, a divine guidance is cyclical in history. Shankaracharya interprets the avatara not merely as a cosmic event. The deeper purpose is restoration of spiritual knowledge. Destruction of the evil ultimately means removal of ignorance. Because ignorance is the root cause for adharma. Dharma sustains both society and spirituality. Because it is a foundation for ethical life and spiritual pursuit. And without dharma, the path of liberation becomes obscured. When the imbalances become severe, Lord appears to correct it. This reflects the cosmic principle of balancing. In the Gita itself, Krishna's most important act is not battle. The purpose of Krishna in the Mahabharata is not for any other purpose. For that it is the teaching of knowledge which has survived so many years, so many millenniums. Rest of them has become history. But Gita is a living book of knowledge, a living teaching of knowledge. That every avatara functions primarily for this spiritual teacher of humanity, for the humanity. And the real enemy is avidya, ignorance at the deepest level. And when the ignorance disappears, adharma disappears. When ignorance disappears, adharma disappears naturally. Practical significance is, this verse also offers the guidance for our spiritual life. Dharma must be preserved, spiritual wisdom must be transmitted. And divine help manifests through those who perform the renewal of dharma. And that is the Lord's greatest gift, knowledge of the self. Even the cycles of dharma and adharma occur within the world of Maya only. But the self remains untouched. Therefore, the Gita ultimately leads beyond history, beyond moral conflict, beyond cosmic cycles. To sum up, the Lord manifests in every age to protect the righteous, destroy the influence of the wicked, and to re-establish dharma, thereby restoring the condition necessary for both worldly order and the spiritual liberation. The next verse is Phalashruti. The benefit of having this understanding of avatara, what is the purpose of it? Paritranaya sadhuna, vinashaya cha dushkrita, dharma samsthapanarthaya. If these three are understood, the Phalashruti will make sense to us. We will see that tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyavad.
Thank you very much, Mendoji. I've opened the chat and hand raising if there are any follow-up questions or discussion points. The room will be open for another 15-20 minutes.
Namaste, Vindaji. So, first of all, I wanted to say thank you. This whole prakarana has been really awesome. Like the way you treated the subject. This is one of the most debated areas of Ishvara, Brahman, Atma. So, I think the way you covered it, I think of course, I have to listen it a couple of times again. But I have a feeling that, that's a great resource and you left no stone unturned kind of thing, Binduji. So really, it was beautiful this till now in the 4th chapter.
Thank you, Srini.
And one question I wanted to ask was because this was revolving so much around the macrocosm, microcosm and Ishvara, Guru, Atma. So right. I was thinking, if I apply my Pratyaksha Pramana, it is more like it applies. It is looking like a guru. If we apply Anumana Pramana, it is more like Ishvara, and if I apply Shabda Pramana, it is Atma. So, is that kind of possible way to understand that?
Yeah, 3 operates at the 3 different levels. So, if you want to correlate that way, nothing wrong with it. Because ultimately, all 3 are coming toward to Shabda Pramana only. Whether it is Pratyaksha or Anumana, the end, where does the effect takes place is due to Shabda Pramana. Because Pratyaksha also will not give the effect of Shabda Pramana. Even though the Shabda Pramana by self is within the Pratyaksha, the effect of Shabda Pramana which we are talking about is Aparoksha. Even though Aparoksha means Pratyaksha only, but it is not external but internal as a direct realization. So, the Guru is only an instrument, as I told, always keep telling that. The Pratyaksha is used by the Guru for conveying it. And sound is one of them. But when the sound becomes meaningful and a conviction to the listener, that is the time when it becomes a direct experience, the immediate experience of Aparoksha Anubhuti.
Yeah. I think especially listening to you all these years, we never touch it this much. You never this much detail about Ishvara, Guru, and Atma. So these few sessions of 4th chapter are like a very big, I don't know what to call, subject in itself. And it was beautiful hearing your treatment, Vindaji. Very nice, and thank you for that.
Because see, the thing is that when we talk about Ishvara, God or Lord or one, the Almighty or thing, already preconceived notions are there. So if I use those terms and terminologies which are prevalent in the misunderstood way in the world, the direction will not be clear. But when it comes from the form of a Shastra itself, and when it is being decoded, relating to both macrocosmic and microcosmic, the word Ishvara now has a different meaning altogether. Otherwise, we will go to Vishnu, Shiva, Rama, whatever may be the gods which we are familiar with. But here is something which is operating both at the macrocosmic level and the microcosmic level simultaneously and always. That makes the difference.
I don't remember if it was Friday's session or Sunday's session, but some part of it where you talked about Ishvara, it really brought tears to my eyes also. So it was like so beautiful. I think it brought that angle. Like it was to see Bindoji touching this area. It was like I was very touched with Bindoji. I think it was beautiful these sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, Srini.
Bindoji, earlier in the Gita, you talked about this aspect of premature renunciation. So this aspect of what the Ishvara, Guru and Atma, those are all in a pedagogical state. Those are all very important signposts to watch for premature renunciation. Would you say that, Bindoji?
Yeah, premature renunciation is due to trigger which is not established in the knowledge. It may be due to vairagya or a momentary desperation or, attraction towards the Shastra itself, or sometimes it can be due to by influential by the oratory of the teacher of, somebody want to be a part of his ashrama or like that, or anything can be thing, but those are all premature in the sense that the knowledge which is required to give that strength to the viveka and vairagya is not there. The viveka vairagya is in a weak wicket or a unsteady wicket, because the kama krodha has not been understood, which I was telling in the last Sunday class. Remember Sunday's question to Kiran's question. The hidden nature of kama, when it is going to, like googly and make us out, or where it takes us pulling the carpet under our feet and we fall flat, we do not know. So to be attentive and aware of what are the ways in which kama operates, and then develop the knowledge to handle them, is mandatory before a vairagya to establish in the full form. And from vairagya will the viveka develop. And once the viveka develops, then that renunciation has a meaning for it. Otherwise, anything else triggered and you are taking a renunciation, you will not be able to sustain it because of the kama and krodha or this avidya which is going to, stump you from any moment. That is the only problem we have. But Ishvara, Guru, Atma, when we are talking about this avatara purpose, or the purpose is to, that is why the jnana has got so much of importance in the process, because the only antidote for avidya, which gives the strength to kama and krodha. In the absence of avidya, kama and krodha are toothless tigers. They cannot do anything. So the avidya removal is the most important aspect. But avidya cannot be seen or understood. they will be expressing themselves through kama and krodha, or the desires, etc. So the watch out is only for the kama and krodha. When that is happening in us, we should be arriving at the conclusion that it is due to my ignorance that I am getting trapped in this kama, desire, or it is in that's why I am getting angry. The anger can be triggered of something else, but at a drop, that when the anger is there seething in your mind, the anger which you take out is on anything and everything. It need not be a directly responsible thing, but that anger is subsiding in us has got now an opportunity to express ourselves. So a trigger is enough for us to do. That may not be the actual reason also. But when we have the blessings of Ishvara and Guru and Atma is in the form of Jnana, because they are all Jnana Swarupas, Ishvara, Guru, Atma, all the three are knowledge embodiment. And when that is blessing us to eliminate the ignorance in us, neither will the desire overwhelm us, nor the obstruction of the desire will generate anger in us. And we will be in a state of, samatvam, which Gita was talking about, the sthita prajnasya bhasha, that state man of established intellect. That is why the Ishvara Guru Atma is important as knowledge delivering principles. Then once you have that renunciation, if it happens, it is out of knowledge and not out of ignorance.
Yes, thank you, Binduji. Very deep interpretation. Any follow-up questions?
If there are no questions, we will meet tomorrow.
Sure. Yes. As always, thanks everyone for coming and attending this session. All the recordings, including today's room, is available in Clubhouse. But all the previous rooms, if you want to access them in a well-catalogued manner, you go to Advaita Retold channel. The link is shared in the chat. Alternatively, there's the Apple Podcast and the Spotify links where you can access these talks. There is also a book penned by Artemisia, which is a condensed interpretation of how Binduji pedagogically applies Advaita to awaken us. So tomorrow we'll meet again at 8:30 p.m. IST to continue on the Gita. As always, thank you very much, Binduji. Over to you to close the room.
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you, Srini. And thank you all of you for attending this. We'll continue the 9th verse tomorrow. Hari Om. Good night.
Hari Om. Good night.